Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing Thursday evening, 6 p.m., and coming to you again with another Facebook Live. It is Scott Reba, co founder, CTO of MindSpout, and just wanted to talk about a few topics this evening. And I've actually seen some interesting articles and data coming across the internet and through various channels that I check out. And so I hope to give you some good information to help you out tonight. First, I want to give a shout out, and I know this may seem kind of, I guess, cliche since it's everybody's doing it, but I have a personal reason for doing this, and that's a shout out to healthcare workers and those essential workers who are on the front lines and are classified as essential workers and going to work every day, especially healthcare rescue people. My sister is a nurse down in South Carolina, and so I know she's going to work on a daily basis, and can't thank you guys enough, ladies and gentlemen, for doing what you do and being on the front lines. And it was sad to hear that one of the lead doctors up in, I guess it was New York, had committed suicide just the other day. So very sad to hear. Unfortunately, a byproduct of the whole global pandemic with potential for depression and suicide rates. So, but big shout out to those healthcare workers who are out on the front lines. So without further ado, let's jump into some topics for this evening. And first one is technology to help trim utility bills. And I'm sure by now you're starting to get those utility bills coming in, whether it be electric, gas, water, sewer, trash, whatever it may be. And you may notice that they've trended up. Well, it kind of makes sense, especially electricity. You're working from home, so you have computers that are running on throughout the day. You may have webcams, or like me, you can have speakers, microphones, and you may be cooking at home for lunch that maybe was done, you were doing the night before, but now you're doing it during the day. I mean, so it's definitely could be seeing your bills go up. So it seems kind of bad considering that your income may have gone down depending on what your situation is with your job or your business. So what are some things you can do to maybe help offset that increase? Well, I was reading an article that was talking about this, and of course one of the things they mentioned right off the bat was LED bulbs and smart LED bulbs. LEDs, much more energy efficient light bulb, way more efficient than your standard incandescent and even your CFLs. And there's actually some evidence out there that CFLs emit a wave that is actually detrimental to your house, and LEDs do not. And I can talk about that another time. But smart LEDs, so you could, there are LEDs that you can use with smart switches where they turn on and off at a certain time, or you put them on timers. But definitely certainly a good way to save money. Use a smart thermostat. Honeywell. I have a Honeywell Wi-Fi enabled smart thermostat that I can adjust and set for. I can program it to certain temperatures throughout the day. And it's nice to have to think about it. And there's also your Nest thermostat, which in a way learns what you're doing throughout the day and adjust the temperature automatically. So another good way that could potentially help you out. Water sensors, smart plugs, power strips. I know one of the things I tell people, and I have seen a major difference for me personally, is my TVs and cable boxes and not VCRs, I'm saying VCRs are going back in the day on that one, but Blu-ray players, DVD players, plug them into a power strip. And when you're done for the night, turn the power strip off, because even though you turn off the device, your computers, your printers, and your TVs are some of your biggest resource or electricity hogs. Even though they're turned off, they still draw power. So turn the power strip off to kill the power to that device. It will save a lot of money on electricity. So one of the other things you can get is there's a home energy monitor where you can actually install it on your energy panel, and it will actually give you a readout of how much energy you're using. Some of the other things, what devices are using the energy. But there are some tools out there, and I'm going to, again, as I always do, I'm going to provide a link to this article from usatoday.com that talks about these ideas and where you may be able to get some of these tools to help with your utility bills. Next up, I know I talked on Tuesday about a potential vulnerability in antivirus, and I talked about a text message stream that could mess up your phone, your iPhone. Well, again, this came out on April 22nd, so I'm a little late to the party sharing it, but there apparently is a vulnerability in iPhones, specifically with the Mail app on iPhones, that can allow people to hack into your iPhone. This apparently has been a vulnerability for over 2 years now. It's just now being talked about, and correct. I'm sorry. I correct myself. It's actually an 8-year-old 0-day vulnerability that's now being exploited. What they call exploited in the wild, and Apple does not currently have a patch. Which, by the way, iPhone does have an update to 13.4.1. So if you have an iPhone, iPad, make sure you check under general settings and do an update on your phone. But there is this particular vulnerability that allows attackers to delete the malicious email as soon as they gain remote access to your device. It can take over and delete stuff and get rid of stuff. And they can actually, the application that they use can allow attackers to leak, modify, and delete emails. And there's no patch yet. They saying that the beta version of the newest iOS update, which is 13.4.5, should have patches for that. But right at this very moment, there is no patch. So be careful. Again, don't click on emails from somebody you don't know or links, because there is a vulnerability and someone could gain access to your phone. In another note, I just saw an article pop through that also with this next update for iPhone, they are testing being able to unlock your phone for users with face masks. So we definitely have hit that level now where Apple is figuring out a way to unlock your phone with a mask on. So I'll be curious to see how that works and what that's going to be. And also want to talk about full-time remote workforce. I think and absolutely believe, as I've talked to many other people, that work as we know it has been fundamentally shifted. Business has been fundamentally changed, and we're going to see a whole lot more of a virtual workforce, a larger scale virtual workforce than we ever had before, because businesses and companies have seen how technology can be leveraged to do business and do business effectively on a daily basis. And that's going to bring with it its own pros and cons. And I certainly, from the IT side and the cybersecurity side, see the benefits and the risk. And I think it's something that business owners are going to have to address. And I was reading a couple of articles. One of them was, the title was "Future of Remote Work Will Be Heavily Influenced by COVID-19." And there's certainly things that this COVID-19 pandemic has influenced, and one of them is this remote workforce. And there's certain things that are certainly you're going to have to work for. I mean, there's certainly going to be things like cultural resistance. There's going to be things like, is it going to be a complete radical change, or what's that going to look like? And then a reassessment by businesses and employees of what remote work tech, what the needs are and what's out there. And that could spawn, certainly for software developers and hardware manufacturers, device makers, a market for people to get into. But it absolutely is going to be influenced. Remote work is influenced. And the second article was "Securing a Remote Workforce Amplifies Common Cybersecurity Risks." And this is where I certainly kind of see things as well, because you're now taking things like your passwords, and it's not just passwords at your work. It's passwords on your personal computer that you may be using at home for work. It's not just the network security for your office at work. It's now your home office network. It's not just coming in and logging in. It's logging into business applications from home. And so there's going to need to be, I think, you're going to see at the higher levels of business, the C-suite executives, and they call the CISOs, Chief Information Security Officers, Chief Technology Officers, that they're going to have to really revisit and rethink what their security standards are, because it's going to look completely different coming out of COVID-19 than what it did going into. And that's not a bad thing. Change is good if it's approached properly with an open mind. And I think businesses, business owners, and large corporations have a very unique opportunity that if they can embrace this change and get out in front with helping their workforce capitalize and work efficiently with remotely and virtually, I think there's unique opportunities for businesses to have unprecedented growth and to really position themselves into the new economy that's going to come out of this. And part of that is understanding that things like this certainly bring about its own version of cyber thieves coming out. And there's an article I pulled up today about 20 minutes ago, 10 COVID-19 scams spreading right now that people are falling for. Look, in times of crisis, the cyber thieves, they love it because there's fear, there's sometimes panic, there's unknown. And so people will respond in ways they may not normally do it. I mean, think about it. One of the top ones that I see on here is blood and saliva from COVID survivors. And it's about immunity. And all of us are want to be as whatever we can to be immune to COVID-19. We don't want to go through getting it and potentially being very sick, being on a ventilator, or possibly dying, God forbid. So blood and saliva, expedited stimulus checks for those business owners, small businesses that are banking on stimulus checks to keep the doors open or keep their business running to get through this. You know, there's people that are pouncing on that. Of course, fake coronavirus miracle cures, tech support scams. I mean, government issued online coronavirus tests, no risk investment. I mean, there's tons and tons and tons of these. I mean, this is just 10. And again, like I said, I'm going to post all these links in the comment section for you to read. But, you know, this is just part of the bigger picture of businesses reassessing where they're at and where they're going and how to support their employees, because this with a virtual workforce, and this is part of it. It's not just COVID-19. It's a virtual workforce in general. And, you know, there's unique opportunities for cyber attackers to pounce on people and leverage miscommunication or lack of communication, just general lackadaisical attitude towards security for organizations. So it's one of those things that this is it's a paradigm shift for the United States and for business. And so I certainly would love to hear from anybody out there as a business owner who is working on reevaluating their cybersecurity policies, their acceptable use policies, their business continuity plans, and disaster recovery plans. I think it would be interesting to hear what you guys are doing out there and have a dialogue. So I appreciate everybody hopping on and taking a listen. And it's really good to see that it looks like we're trying to find ways to get open back up, and I think Governor Hogan's doing a great job. I commend him for trying to be out in front on everything, and hopefully we'll start coming out of this here soon. But in the meantime, be smart. Stay at home if you need to. Go out only if you need to. Wear your mask. Be safe, and above all else, I appreciate everybody for watching. And keep an eye out. There will be some webinars coming up in the month of May where I start diving into these topics a little bit deeper and hopefully giving more information for those of you out there. So until then, everybody have a great evening. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday at 6 p.m. for the weekly recap. And until then, have a great evening.